last night. You know what I thought as I cut into my steak? I thought, this is a nice steak. This is nowhere near as nice of a steak as I'm going to have when Hunter Biden gets indicted. And there are more details that continue to unspool in the tangled web that the Biden family weaves. And a lot of the bank accounts seem to have been intertwined in terms of what Hunter was doing, what bills he was paying. It just, every single day, the drip, drip, drip of allegation seems a bit more substantial as it pertains to Hunter Biden wrongdoing. And I don't know if you're following this stuff. Like, he hasn't been out of the house, at least not seen publicly, in the Malibu, where he's got evidently a $20,000 house that he's renting, where the Secret Service is next door to him, and a $30,000 house a month that they are having to rent in order to try and protect him. It's getting more and more messy for the Biden family.
One thing that anybody who is paying attention to the facts here would have to come away with, the Bidens are liars. You know, this is really against, we got used to that. We know the Clintons are liars, but the thing about the Democrats was that they would say, oh, but yeah, sure, you know, Bill was a big liar, but it didn't really matter because he was good at his job. And like, Hillary's a liar, but she's a woman who's had an impressive resume. But the Bidens, or Joe Biden specifically, Clay, were really offered up as, he's a good guy, straight shooter, wears the aviators, rolls up the sleeves, you know, the whole thing. And no, they're liars. I mean, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, they've been completely, Joe Biden was claiming before the election that this was all a total, nothing happened.
Yes.
He was getting millions and millions of dollars from Chinese businessmen who were fronting for the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an essential plan of the Chinese Communist Party. I'm sorry, Joe knew about it, okay? It wasn't $5 that somebody was slipping into his hand, you know, as a thank you for carrying luggage. The reality here is also, one other thing. You see that they lied about the dog that bit the Secret Service agent? I mean, I know people say this is such a minor thing. They had, I love dogs, they had a menace of an animal that was, it was attacking Secret Service agents, biting them, leaving, bloodying them, and completely unprovoked. And the White House tried to do this, there was, a little incident, Joe Biden's like, I slipped and fell, and they were lying about that. Clay, the media has been propping up the Biden lies for a very long time, and I do think that now, because of the finances involved here, because it's going to be, zeros and ones and numbers on a page, it's going to get hard for them to prop them up anymore. They're just dishonest people.
Well, first of all, he's already lied. He lied in the debate with Trump when he said his son had not gotten any money from China. We now know at least Hunter Biden got $4.8 million. And then Psaki lied on behalf of Biden when she said, or whoever the spokesperson was that day, said, yes, he stands by that answer. So he lied to the American public, Joe Biden did, in the debate about the money that his son might have gotten from China, and then lied again saying, yes, I maintain the answer that I gave there. And this is also significant, I think, Buck. We're not talking about a family that is steeped in wealth historically. And some of you out there may say, well, why does this matter, Clay? Well, just think about it. If you are regularly Amtrak Joe, as he likes to claim, and you have worked on the public dole for over 40 years, and you've been making a couple of $100,000 a year as a part of that job, which is roughly the salary of a senator, that's not a bad salary, right? That's a good living for the average person out there to make. But it ain't millions of dollars, Buck. And so when your son suddenly starts to make millions of dollars, we're not talking about a family that has bank accounts that we know of filled with millions of dollars in money that they have made in an honest way in business or as a part of their pursuit of wealth in a capitalistic country. You're going to recognize that money rolling into Hunter Biden's account in a way, frankly, that if you're a member of an incredibly wealthy family, you don't. Does that make sense to you? Like, if you have anybody out there, if you've got a wealthy family member, you and the rest of the family is not wealthy, you recognize their wealth in a way that you don't if everybody's filthy rich in the family. So when you got Hunter Biden suddenly making millions of dollars, and nobody in the Biden family has ever been wealthy before, I just don't buy with those commingled funds that there's any way you're not recognizing all of that money as it comes roaring and rushing into the family coffers.
We can give everyone some details here, and this is from John Levine over at the New York Post. Hunter Biden's access to lucrative financial opportunities also came with expectations, including kicking back as much of 50% of his earnings to his dad, text messages on his old laptop show. I hope you can all do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years, Hunter Biden groused to daughter Naomi in January 2019. It's really hard, but don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary. Pop is, of course, Joe Biden. And it goes on here, Clay. It continues, and it just gets worse. The laptop infamously abandoned a Delaware repair shop in April 2014 does not contain any direct evidence of such hush money transfers, but does show that Hunter was routinely on the hook for his father's household expenses while Joe Biden was vice president. I'm going to put something out there. Does anyone think that this made its way onto Joe Biden's financial disclosure forms that all senior government officials have to fill out? Does anyone want to place any bets on that one? I got a feeling whatever Hunter was throwing for Pops didn't make its way into the public domain.
Where all these millions of dollars went. Because, I mean, Buck, if you're making withdrawals and a lot of this money becomes cash, which probably is the way, let's be honest, if you were Joe Biden and you wanted to get access to some of this money, you don't want Hunter writing you a check. You want him showing up with a duffel bag of cash, right? I mean, let's be honest, because if he's not paying tax on it, where did these millions of dollars go? Now, I know a lot of them went, based on Hunter's own stories, to hookers, to drugs, to the lifestyle that he was living, which was a crazy one. But this idea that what the White House is going to try to do is wall off Joe Biden and make the allegation, oh, that's Hunter, right? Hunter's the private citizen. You already hear these arguments being made. What he did isn't, first they said the laptop was fake. Now the argument has shifted into, well, the laptop may be real, but Hunter's not a government official. He's not a member of this administration. What he or the brothers of Joe Biden might have been doing don't implicate the president at all. And then what you're pointing out, Buck, is actually the president is pretty significantly implicated, which is why I said yesterday in our interview with Miranda Devine, which I encourage people to listen to on the podcast, I think there's a chance that Joe Biden's going to get called as a witness in the grand jury proceedings that are going on right now.
Do we have like a side bet on the sides? Like, do I get to get truffled potatoes or something with this one? Because there is no way, Hunter, there's no way Joe Biden, the president, is going to be called in to testify in this trial. They just won't, Clay, they just won't do it. It doesn't matter what the truth is. He won't say anything,
and he'll fight the subpoena, which is why I want him to get asked if he's subpoenaed as part of this investigation. According to what Miranda told us, Buck, she said that there is testimony regularly and questioning regularly focused right now on the quote-unquote big guy, which is the way they referred to Joe Biden in all of the correspondence, so they didn't use his actual name. Tony Bobulinski memorably has said specifically on Tucker Carlson's show when they had a big sit-down that the rest of the media basically ignored. Tony Bobulinski laid out exactly what was going on, Joe Biden's involvement explicitly in these transactions. If you are questioning about who the big guy is, at some point you got to call the big guy. Right? At some point, if you are in front of the grand jury, they're going to raise their hand up and they're going to say, okay, you keep talking about this big guy. Why don't we hear from the big guy? Now, I don't think the big guy would testify, but if you're doing an accurate investigation, and your point is they ain't doing an accurate investigation. I think you
just have this relies on way too much faith in the prosecutorial and judicial system in this country right now at the federal level, which just should, Clay, one of my favorite exercises is to sit here and just tell everybody off the top of your head, think of all the absolutely obvious, politically motivated prosecutions of politicians that were often baseless, were often smear campaigns that have happened in just the last 10 years. Obviously, Russia-Trump collusion, huge lie special counsel, Oh, but it goes so much deeper than that. They were going to nail Governor Scott Walker with the John Doe investigation of campaign collusion with outside organizations in Wisconsin. They tried to go after Rick Perry when he was governor of Texas because he was going to defund a prosecutor who was a drunk driver and said that if you don't fire this person, we're going to pull funding. They went after Governor Bob McDonnell's wife. They wanted to throw the former Republican governor of Virginia's wife in prison for 2 years because he was governor accepting gifts from famous people. They lied about evidence with Senator Ted Stevens, which cost the Republicans a Senate seat that was necessary for the passage of Obamacare. They said that Chris Christie was going down for Bridgegate. Clay, we can do this all day, man. I mean, it's
a great question. Who is the last... Because the point to your larger analogy there, and that was a fantastic recitation of prosecutorial failures, who's the last famous politician to actually be convicted of a crime?
Well,
the only one, I was going to say, the only one I could think of is Blagojevich, right? And that was I've got this gold bullion in my hand over the Senate seat. Remember, they had him on wiretaps.
I mean, he was technically correct when he said a Senate seat was a valuable thing. Yes. There is truth in that. Well, the lieutenant governor of New York, who, I mean, no one
just got arrested.
Just got arrested.
But that people would recognize, to your point, fame in the world of politics. There does seem to be, I guess, your governor Spitzer, right, in New York also got
just
popped.
When you say your governor, it feels like almost an
that's
attack.
Your boy.
It's rough.
That's your boy. That's your governor. Spitzer got popped. But by and large, to your point, there is a level of fame that you seem to be able to reach in the political universe that almost makes you untouchable.
If you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, they go after you, Clay, even
they
if
go
you
after
didn't
you,
do anything.
But Spitzer and Blagojevich are both Democrats, and they actually got popped. And Jesse Jackson Jr., he got popped too, didn't he?
Yeah, but Spitzer got pushed aside. First of all, what he was doing, and so did Anthony Weiner. I mean, look, there are limits, right? I mean, if you get caught
soliciting
sending photos of your, to underage, you're going to go, it isn't in fact true yet that we're at a place where if you're a famous, powerful Democrat politician, you can, shoot someone. Trump said I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. That's not true either.
By the way, I think he's probably right. I've been arguing for a while that Nick Saban in Alabama, you went down and saw an Alabama football game. If Nick Saban shot someone and was on tape doing it, a lot of Alabama fans would say, well, that guy deserved it, and he'd keep coaching football because he's so good.
That's a terrifying revelation. But anyway, hopefully Mr. Saban's a very nice fellow. I will come back. I
am of the belief, Buck. Like I said, I mean, that stake. I'm more and more confident every day that Hunter Biden's going to get indicted.
I mean, what you're basically calling for here would be the actual implosion of the Biden regime via a criminal prosecution of the sitting president's son. And Clay, that would be the biggest shock in American politics, certainly since Trump won the 2016 election, but I think in a lot of ways maybe even bigger than that.
Well, I think we're headed towards I mean, look at the way the world is going. I really do think that Joe Biden is going to announce shortly after a shellacking that he's not running for re-election, and I think a part of it is going to be because of what's going on with Hunter. But he's going to blame his age. That would be my prediction. I think if we're having this conversation in February, we're going to be talking of next year. It's like, okay, who's the Democratic nominee going to be in 24 now that Joe Biden's out? 24 now that Joe Biden's out. 24.